What's up everybody, welcome to Malta Island, home of the Maltese food. If you want to chomp down on some Mediterranean munchies, you've come to the right place. What we got here is a mighty fine selection of choice quality chow, and personally, I think it's pretty nice. So grab yourself a treat and take yourself a seat, because the Malta food tour is about to begin. So I was cruising and perusing around the mysterious alleyways deep inside the heart of Valletta, Malta. Famous for its Knights Hospitaller during ancient times and its rich maritime history, this buck-wild little island archipelago has been a confluence of all different kinds of cultures, all different kinds. So after sussing out that scenery, I decided to get myself some tasty treats and some pretty nice eats. And the first item I ordered up was a little thing called the Stringozzi. Stringozzi is the rare and underappreciated shoelace pasta, and Arnit means octopus in the Maltese language, in case you were wondering. Anyway, I thought this primo meal was looking surreal, so I got mentally prepared to take myself a bite. And after careful thought, consideration, and contemplation, I shoved that Stringozzi down my throat. And wow, just wow, I am literally at a loss for words over here, people. Those shoelace noodles were firm yet supple, and that succulent red wine sauce was infused with olives and sun-ripened tomatoes. And then of course you had that Arnit octopus meat. I'm not the world's biggest octopi fan, but this particular Arnit had that classic majestic mollusk flavor without having any of that rubberiness or toughness that you might experience from time to time. And so this mysterious flavor-packed journey takes us to our next Maltese food, a little thing called the Maltese pizza. Topped off with the Zalzette sausage, olives, capers, the Maltese goat cheese, sun-dried tomatoes, and caponetta Sicilian eggplant, this primetime pizza has a flavor fiesta in each buck-wild bite. It's a caloric cornucopia of the highest caliber, and one look at that bad boy was making me feel borderline aroused. So after a momentary glance, I took a chance and had myself a life-enhancing nibble. And whoa boy, did that delicioso pizza really hit the spot. That Maltese sausage had sea salt, garlic, coriander seeds, and peppercorns deep inside. And that creamy goat cheese coupled with those tangy olives and jumbo capers made me closer to God. I didn't think I could find religion by just spending 60 seconds eating pizza, but hey, the food gods do work in mysterious ways. So after biting my way to a better future, I thought it was high time to try out a sweet blood sugar spiking treat. Which brings us to our next food, the Maltese gelato flour. And as you can plainly see, we got us various flour petals of different types of gelato flavors. And that primo puppy is topped off with a little Macaron action. Now me personally, I went with the flavor stylings of coconut, hazelnut, vanilla, and caramel gelato. And I went with that classic raspberry macaron, but you can choose any kind of flavor combination your badass heart desires. Anyway, that crisp on the outside, soft on the inside macaron hit me with a berry blast so strong that I almost temporarily lost consciousness. And that creamy, soft, and sensual gelato made me feel dizzy and in a tizzy. So after consuming large quantities of calories while barely freaking moving, I decided it was high time to get myself another meal. A little Maltese delicacy known as the baked gnocchi Giardino. Here we got some potato gnocchi gently boiled, then baked to a crisp. It's topped off with some roasted cherry tomatoes, some fresh local cheese shards, some salad greens, and a little wild Maltese fennel. So after admiring that dish for a fleeting moment, I took 2 gnocchi balls, jammed it onto my fork, and took myself a bite. And about the time I bit through those beautiful balls, I got to wondering, were these crispy on the outside, soft and chewy on the inside, balls designed specifically for me? Because crazy as it may sound, I think they actually were. Those sweet roasted tomatoes coupled with that crumbled fresh mozzarella and herbal fennel action turned me into a good man, dare I say, a better man. It had a local, rustic, down-home, hometown, fresh from the garden flavor that I was loving a lot. It was delicioso as hell and flavorful to the max, and I wouldn't just say it tasted good, I'd go on ahead and upgrade it to a real good. So after chowing down on my fair share of beautiful gnocchi balls, I sprinted on out to the street to get myself a treat. And here we got us a wide selection of the street-side Pastizzi. These flavor-packed pastries have a high-calorie punch for a relatively low price. Sometimes they're packed with meat, sometimes peas, and other times cheese. Here I got myself a chicken cheese pasty, and although that filling's quite good, that outer crust shell is to die for. It's got that crusty, buttery, slightly flaky texture that I yearn for from the very depths of my soul. In fact, it was just so delicious that I got myself another pasty. This one had a less buttery but a more flaky outer shell, and it was stuffed with a whole lot of mashed pea action. And it most definitely changed my life and touched my heart, but at this point I got to wondering. Seeing as how I just chomped down on 5 different food items in a short span of time, should I get some more or should I take a break? Well, there is always room for dessert, right? So I got myself the Imqaret. And right about now you're probably wondering, what is an Imqaret? Well, funny thing, sweet cheeks, I was wondering the same thing. Word around the campfire is these are date-filled, deep-fried Maltese pastries, and legend has it that they're infused with the flavor of anise seed and bay leaf, which sounds pretty intriguing. So I got myself a chunk of that Imqaret and topped it off with a little rum raisin ice cream. And after staring at that organic matter in a dazed stupor, I took myself a taste. And holy crusader dogs, is this dessert for real right now? Because by the order of St. John himself, I could have sworn I just experienced the second coming in bite form. Basically what I'm tasting here is a flavor explosion of dates, rum, a deep-fried crust, and a chocolate liqueur sauce. In fact, it was tasting so magnifique that I think even Grandmaster Jean Valletta himself would be proud to take a bite. So after attaining inner solace, you best believe I made a beeline to the next local delicacy, a little something we like to call the Maltese stewed rabbit meat. Now, I don't know what it is about Maltese people and rabbits, but they got a whole lot of rabbit stew restaurants all over the place. You practically can't walk 100 meters down the street without tripping over one. So after being tantalized by that pro-rabbit meat propaganda, I figured I'd give it a whirl. And sorry for all those rabbit lovers out there, but I can't help but say it actually tasted pretty good. What I got here was stewed in a tangy red wine sauce. It had that slow-cooked wild rabbit stew flavor just like Grandma used to make. And to me, it kind of tasted like a cross between lamb and chicken meat. I mean, I guess it's not my favorite meat in the whole wide world, but I can't help but feel culturally enriched for trying it. This is indeed a primo sauce that brings out the very best of those rabbit flavors, and I think it's safe to say that that innocent animal died for a good cause. Which brings us to our next local delicacy known as the pulled pork Pappardelle. This bad boy's claim to fame is its local Maltese savory pulled pork coupled with that andouille spread. Apparently andouille is a Mediterranean munchie that's a spreadable spicy salami which is infused deep inside this dish. I'm actually pretty glad that they put some spreadable salami into this dish because it's not only what I wanted out of life, but it's actually what I needed. Granted, I didn't even know andouille actually existed until I ordered this dish, but these are minor details. So after a twistin' and a turnin' and a little meat skewering, I slowly but surely and haphazardly shoved some of that pappardelle down my throat. It had a savory, slow-cooked pork flavor, complete with a spiced salami aftertaste. And along with those classic cheese shard, cherry tomato, and herbal add-ons, this primo meal was tasting subtle to the max, yet sophisticated beyond belief. Which brings us to our next Mediterranean munchie, a little thing called the jumbo artichoke hearts. These high-octane, pimpin' out-of-control artichoke hearts are bigger than I've ever seen. I guess I've only ever had these things cut up into tiny chunks, but these bad boys? Let's just say they open up life possibilities, the likes of which I've never known. They whisk me off into a simpler time when Malta was a bulwark of Western civilization. With each soft, vinegar-packed bite, I feel transported to the glorious days of old. Crazy as it may sound, each passing bite is bringing me a connection to that storied past, and it's bringing me a spiritual connection, to be exact. I guess what I'm trying to say in an indirect way is I was wholeheartedly enjoying those tender artichoke hearts. And seeing as how I've made it to 9 local foods so far, I figured hell, I might as well go to the full Monty and go to the 10th food on this list, a little dish called the tomato and herb arnit. Now seeing as how the first meal I had contained arnit octopus meat, and seeing as how I'm not usually a big fan of the octopi, yet it made me a believer, I couldn't help but feel like I needed to chow down on one more magnificent mollusk, just one more. And although perhaps you might be turned off by the octopi tentacle and suction cup action, that magnifique mollusk was tasting so delicious that I snapped my head back so fast I almost had a whiplash. Cooked together with only the finest local olive oil, Maltese sea salt, herbs, spices, and of course the tomato, I knew that eating the flavor-packed carcass of this dead sea creature was an experience I won't soon forget. Oh, and by the way, if you want to learn about some more Mediterranean munchies, then you best check out my previous series about the Croatian food. It's a real nice fusion of Central Balkan and Adriatic food stylings, and I got that video link down below in the description box. And as always, thanks for watching this video, everybody. Why don't you leave a comment, let me know what you think.